Hello and welcome back. Um, Today we are doing Unit 1 getting of the Green and Salkind book called, and the Unit 1 is called Getting Started with SPSS. So I have my book here and I am going to just open it up and we'll just walk through getting started. All right. So now, let me turn the page. Okay, lesson 1, starting SPSS. Okay, so I'm going to go down to my all apps, and you might have, if you've installed your version of SPSS, you might have the little icon on your desktop. I'm going to look for IBM SPSS Statistics 24. Okay, now our textbook, the Green and Salkind textbook, is they used SPSS version 23, so there might be slight differences from the textbook. In addition, I have the professor version of SPSS, so it has a lot more bells and whistles than your version does. So if my screen looks a little bit different than yours, that's why. Let me know if there's something that I do that you can't do, and we'll, and if you figure out a way to do it, then we can let the whole class know. But yeah, I know some of you have very sharp eyes, so I'm sure you'll be able to identify any differences that we need to work around between my version and your version. Okay, so we get this opening screen. And it's basically, asking us, do we want to create a new file? So in this way, I think you'll find that SPSS is very similar to other programs you've worked with, like Microsoft Word or Excel. So we get this opening screen, this opening window, series of options, and after a while you'll have, files that you've recently opened. You probably don't have anything in that yet. And so we are going to be using, let's see, the first thing we're going to do is enter some data. All right, so you could click on New Data Set, or you could just close this window because this is the data editor window right here. But what happens if we click on New Data Set? Open. It opens another data set window. Okay, so right now, we're in the variable view window, okay? So there are two views, and you can see that down here. There's variable view, and there's data view. And I'll just click on data view to show you what that looks like. Data view would list the variables across the top, just like we did in Excel, and then each row represents a different person or test score or whatever, what have you. The variable view is where we would have variables. So let's create, since we're creating our data set here, let's click on in the name box, and I'm going to write height in height inches. Okay. So this is the variable where we'll take a sample of the heights from our class and enter it into our data set. The type is numeric. Some of your other options are here. This shows some of your other options. The main ones we'll use are either numeric or string. Okay. Okay. but height in inches is numeric. The width just says how many spaces wide our widest entry is likely to be, and it's going to, our widest entry is two characters, right? So you can just leave the width normally at the default, which is 8. In decimal places, we're not really using because we didn't really record decimal places. Label, often our variable names, in this case it is height inches, they're not that cute. They wouldn't look that cute on a graph. So, or a chart or something like that. So often we add a label that just looks a little bit nicer. So I'm going to put student height for our label. This is our variable name. This is the label for our variable name. Okay, and I think that's all we need for getting started. Let's see. Now, let's go to the data view. And you see it has created a column. In Excel, the first row held our column names. Because SPSS is specifically for analyzing data, it has our, instead of having A, B, C, D like Excel does, it puts your variable name right at the top. And the first row is for your first student or participant, or whoever, the data for your first record. Okay, so I'm choosing a few heights here. Okay, and I'm just going to enter it directly in. The first one I chose, the first student, is 67 inches. I'm just typing in 67. The second one is 66. The third one, 67. The fourth student was 69 inches tall. And the fifth student is 74 inches tall from my random sample of little slips of paper. Okay. So now we have the data editor window, right? And we're in the data view. This window is the output window, okay? And this is where, when you do anything with your data, the results get shown on this output viewer, this viewer. Okay. And turning the page. Alrighty. So now, that was lesson 1, basically. Lesson 2, the SPSS main menus and toolbar. Okay, the main menu. Whoa, it says it comes with 11 main menus. Okay, so here, what do we have? Here's our menu bar. Here's our toolbar. I'm in the output viewer. Okay. And so under File, New, you can use this to open a new data file. A syntax file is a file that you can use to store your commands that you're using to do your analysis. We're not going to worry about that yet. And an output file is kind of what we're looking at now. It's a list of the commands, the output, your results, graphs, what have you. Close, export, various other commands here. Where's, oh yeah, import. This is something we're definitely going to be using. We're going to be most often importing data from Excel. Okay, and then these have all the commands that you'll need, whether it's things you're doing with your data file, like for example, you might be sorting, okay, sorting cases. For example, if I wanted to sort the numbers from the heights from lowest to highest, you might, and then our analysis is where we'll spend a lot of time. And we can generate reports, we can get descriptive statistics, and by descriptive statistics, we mean things like the mean and the standard deviation. Okay, and other measures of central tendency and variability that you now know about. Okay, so turning the page. Okay, the view and data memory. Here's a chance to customize your desktop. Okay, view. Show or hide toolbars. We definitely want to see the status bar. We want to see the toolbars. Grid lines. Oh, I don't have grid lines on this one. I think it's because I'm not in my data file. Here, let me go to my data file. Go to view. There we go. I was in the output viewer. Here's the data editor. Status bar, toolbars. You can turn on and off grid lines. And then this is value labels. What does this mean? Okay. What does that do? View value labels. Let's leave that unchecked for now. I have a feeling I know what it does, but let's leave that unchecked. Okay. Oh, yeah, I know what it does. It has to do with categorical variables, but we don't need to worry about that now because we just have continuous variables in our data set right now. Okay, turning the page. Transform and analyze menu. Yeah, that's they call it the meat and potatoes, and that's absolutely true. It's the thing that does the main work that we're going to be doing. And then there's the graphs menu and so on. We'll definitely be using the graphs menu as well. Okay, turning the page. I am now on page 10. And yes, there's the help. There's help. Help. Okay, so right there, you can get help, and it connects you to the website, a web page. Getting help. Help. Okay. I'm going to close that. Let me just minimize it. Okay. So there have a feeling crabby file here. Okay, one of the first things I like to do when I have entered some data, maybe even before I start entering the data, is to save the data file. So if for some reason the computer shuts off and you've entered in data, you don't want to lose the data that you just spent some time typing in. So save, and I get this window. I'm going to just put it on my desktop for now so it's easy for me to find. Desktop. save height. I'm going to call this height demo. And it's going to save as type .sav. That means it's a SPSS data file. Okay, and there you can there are various options. You don't have to worry about them. I'll just click save. Okay, so now you see that up here, instead of saying untitled, it says the name of my data set, which is height demo. Okay, so lesson 3 talks about how to get help. I'll let you read that on your own. Okay, so we created our data set. We created a new we created a variable simply by typing into our variable view, and we entered the data in our data view. Okay. I got to lesson 4 already. A simple table. Ooh. Let's see. Now, let's see what we get for some descriptive statistics. I clicked at the bottom to click over to my output viewer, and let's go analyze descriptive statistics, and let's go to descriptives and see what we get. Okay, so it's basically here it's saying what variables do you want to use. In a lot of data sets, you'll find that you'll have a long list of variables, and you won't need all of them for each of your analyses. So it's asking you to move over the variables that you want to use. We only have one variable, so we'll move it over. And let's hit OK. What do we have? So now here's the output it gave us. So for student height, the number of entries we have is 5, or number of participants in this sample is 5. The minimum value, 66. The maximum, 74. The mean, the standard deviation. Right there, very quickly does the math for us. Okay? And so there you see that. Now we don't have a categorical variable in here. Let's create one, just so we can go along more with lesson 4 here. I'm going to click back over to my height demo. And this is again the data editor variable view. Let's put gender. Let's explore a little bit. What happens if we treat it as a string? I'm going to click on string. Okay. And I'm not going to fill in a label because I think gender is fine as a label. I'm going to go to data view, clicking the data view tab. Now let's pretend like this is, since we're doing a string, and notice how there's a ruler for continuous variables, and then there's this A for a string variable, and it's saying it's probably going to be nominal, right? That's what it's guessing, and it's right, because we're going to do F for female, M, F, M, F. I'm just making that up. Okay. Now let's see if we can analyze the variable gender. So I'm going back over to my output viewer, analyze, descriptive statistics, descriptives, and look, the variable gender doesn't even show up here. Um, probably because you can't find the mean of a string, right? So let's cancel that. Analyze. Now, in your book, it says a simple analysis, a simple table. Let's see. It suggests going to analyze, then to descriptive statistics, then to frequencies. Okay, so now this is asking us which variables do we want to include in this frequency analysis. And we're going to put both of them, height and gender. And you see that display frequency tables is checked, okay? And so ignoring these options for the moment, let's hit OK and see what happens. Okay, so student height, we have first it's showing us that we have 5 valid entries and no missing entries. Okay, and gender, there's also no missing entries. So for height, we've got our frequency, our percent of students. This would be valid versus missing. Okay, so if there was missing data, these would only show the percent of non-missing, and then our cumulative percent. And then for gender, we get the frequency. We see that there are 3 females, 2 males, so 60% female, 40% male. Okay, and so we got a frequency table there. Again, very fast, very easy. Let's see. It says, let's see if males and females difference. I'm looking at 4.5, a simple one now. Let's see if males and females differ in their average TEACH scores. Talking about TEACH tests, which we're going to learn soon. But let's okay, so, but let's, for our purposes, let's go to Analyze. Let's go to Tables. Now, I don't know if you have custom tables in your in the base version. Let's go to Compare Means. Means. Okay, so the dependent variable, our outcome variable, what we're trying to compare is height. Our independent variable, our categories, our groups that we're comparing, are gender. And let's hit OK and see what happens. Okay, so first we get this case processing summary. This, again, relates to, the first thing that happens is you see the command. So it's kind of like the app is telling you what commands it used in order to generate this output, okay? And this becomes useful later on, where it can be helpful to keep track of all the commands when you're doing very complex analyses. But that, I just want you to see the command. It's saying generate a mean table for outcome height by independent or predictive variable gender. And it says in the cells, it's going to have the mean, the count, and the standard deviation. So case processing summary lets us know often cases will be excluded if there's missing data and it cannot do the computation. And then here's our report. So gender, female, and male. The average height of those that we labeled female was 69.3 inches. Of those we labeled male was 67.5. And then it shows the number of students in each group and the standard deviation for each group, as well as the total mean, the total number, and the total standard deviation. So very quick, very straightforward for finding the mean and the standard deviation. So, and we are done with Unit 1 on called Getting Started with SPSS. So I hope that was a fairly painless introduction to SPSS, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.